it's important, in my opinion, to differentiate between what I call producing play and consuming play. So producing or consuming. Producing play, when you're doing that, when you're playing, you're at the cause. When you're consuming play, you're at the effect. So here's an example of consuming play. Watching TV. Right? Hey, let's sit down with my kid and let's put on a movie. I'm doing with them, yeah. But who's at the source of the playing in that moment? The television, right? The iPad, the phone. It's receiving end. As opposed to producing play, which could be using your imagination, right? Creating some story and playing together. You're at the cause of the play. You're at the cause of the fun. I mean, in a way for adults, that's what it comes down to with purpose, right? It's the producing action that brings you the most joy. When people out hear this, right? What's your purpose? They always jump to consuming. It's like, what do you like to do? I like to travel. Okay. Environments due to me. I like to eat. Okay. Food due to me. I like to talk to people. People entertain me. Okay. But what about an action where you're at the cause? And what's interesting, but also at the same time a little sad, is nowadays there's an endless way to play while consuming. Right? Even a video game, that's consuming. A little game on your phone, it's consuming. There's endless technology everywhere. And going back to the story I started with, it's one thing to some extent that those parents got right with the toys. Right now, for myself, I don't just do wooden toys. I love pushing imagination. There's a ton of toys, but it's toys that you play with, not toys where you're just sitting there and consuming it. And that's the thing. Anything that fuels imagination, that fuels play, and you don't need that much. That's what I was saying. The father had it right to some extent, where even with some basic toys, what does it do? It creates a situation for the child to use their imagination and make something out of nothing, to create, right? And that's the most fun, by the way. For myself, if I think back to my childhood playing, two of the situations that probably stand out the most are, one, playing figurines with my sister. And I remember even having these like Star Wars figurines, and we'd create these stories. So the toys would enhance the play, right? It was producing. And the other memory was playing with my friends when I was really young, out in the woods, right? Grew up in Switzerland, middle of nowhere. We'd go out in the woods and we'd play with sticks and play fight like they were swords. And that was it. And that stood out. It was so fun because we were at the cause of it. Now, what did I need to have fun? Just a stick. That's it. And with a stick, as a kid, I created something out of nothing. So if you're just overloading, here, there's this stimulus, it doesn't give them once more the room to create something out of nothing. The same with bored. Let them get bored. Boredom, you could say, is the fertile ground for inspiration for that play. It's like, okay, well, we could either sit here and be bored, or we can do something. We can create something out of nothing. And you got to resist the urge to jump in and entertain at times. Oh, they're bored. I got to jump in and entertain. That's what's the good thing on the book. No. Pause a second. See if they can summon that and self-entertain. Right? And that play where you're at the cause, the producing play, is the most fulfilling. Right? Like, if I look at my eldest daughter, one is she could be watching a princess movie, right? Part of a princess movie. She loves the princesses. And she could do sit down 10 minutes of that and have a smile on her face and be into it. Like, oh, the princesses, cool. However, it will not bring the same smile on her face than playing hide and seek with her cousins, right? And running around playing hide and seek, like the screaming, the giggling. Hey, it's free. Hide and seek. You make something out of nothing. You're there. Hey, let's just play hide and seek. So play where you're at the cause. I love to encourage that. This is totally random, but a show where, if you haven't seen the show, watch it, Bluey. Like, can we talk about Bluey? It's that good. I actually got sucked in. I wasn't sucked in at first. And by the way, Bluey is probably one of the biggest shows. Every parent knows this show. I wasn't sucked in at first, but it got good. And I see little bits in there and I'm like, and there's a lot of moments in that show too where they encourage and they show that producing play, like creating fun out of nothing, using imagination, these role-playing games and stuff. It really hits on that, the dynamic they have there. And I think it's really beautiful. Love everything about it except for the last episode. And I'll wrap with that. So a few months ago, I moved. Okay, so I moved to a different state with my family. And we're in our house here. And my daughter, where we lived before, would go to daycare. I chose to put her in daycare, and I can make a whole episode about this, but it's also important, in my opinion, for her to socialize with other kids and learn that. And it's a great environment, so there's a good balance there of the two. So she had to leave her friends and, again, move across states. And the last episode, most recent of Bluey, and that's the one I don't like, they're moving too. Right? The dad's like, hey, I got a job making more money. We're moving. And it's this long episode, and everyone was talking about it on social media because I follow the parenting social media. And it's this great build-up. Like, all of it's great up until the end. And it shows, the kid's like, why do we have to move and stuff? So my daughters could relate, right? My daughter's watching it. She's like, oh, yeah. And I kept bringing up, like, see, it's like us. It's like us. And I thought at the end, because every episode has a lesson or morale, something to take from it. At the end, I assumed, like, okay, they're sad, and it shows them going through with it, and it shows something happy at the end where they're moved, and how sometimes, change is good, and it's worth, staying through the uncomfortable part of it. What a great lesson. Imagine that episode. But instead, at the very end, it shows them just change their mind, ditch the contracts, everything, and throw the for sale sign on the ground, and they decide they're staying. And the dad does that. He rips the sign out, throws it on the ground, and the whole family hugs the dad. Like, thanks for letting us stay. We're so happy now. The end. So I feel like it's the ultimate troll episode on any family that's ever moved, where it's like, ha, gotcha. You'll never be as good as the Bluey dad. So it was a very awkward ending. And then I was like, we moved, right? It's great. So anyway, Bluey.